Hey, GLP-1 plus sides community. Before we jump into the podcast, please take the time to leave us a 5-star review on whatever audio platform you're listening to the podcast on. Share your story and how the podcast has helped you. This will help us get referred up in the audio platform so that we can reach more people that need our help, our support, and guidance from our doctors. Help us get loud and change things.
Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on the Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus Sides podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, wegovy, and Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to the Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus Sides Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault.
Hey everyone, before we dive in, I really want to share something personal with you. About, I want to say like 8 to 10 months ago, after losing 100 pounds on GLP-1s and keeping it off for a long time, I started regaining out of nowhere, and I was terrified. But I also started having hot flashes and bouts of crying and snacky cravings and waking up at 3 a.m. unable to go back to sleep. It turns out I was in perimenopause. So I started hormone replacement therapy, which is also called HRT, through a telehealth called Winona that specializes in this. And it changed everything. And now I'm sleeping better. And my hot flashes are all but gone, thank God. And I feel like myself again. And it turns out that you can actually start perimenopause as early as 35. And well, I'm 46 and she's here. HRT has really come a long way and there's just no need to suffer anymore. So if you're like this and you're in the same boat, you can check out buywinona.com and you can use the link in our link tree to save some money.
Want the fastest working GLP-1? For half the price, Ro now offers FDA-approved weight loss injections cheaper. With results you can see faster. Lose 15% of your weight with the formula from Eli Lilly that hits not one, but 2 hormones to curb hunger and nausea. Weight loss faster, confidence higher, price cheaper. See if you qualify at ro.co/TV.
Welcome to the Plus Sides Podcast. I don't have Kat today. What's up with that? That's because she has to work. Sad story. However, I do have Sabina from GLP Winner with me. And this is where we are going to talk about the things that are going on in the news with GLP-1. I think that a lot of our podcast is focused on, advocacy and education, but this is a big area and there's a lot of promise, but there's also a lot of threat. And this is my friend Sabina. If you guys don't know about GLP Winner, they sponsor our podcast. And so you'll see a little ad come by here soon. But it's a great place to go for all of you that send me messages that are like, where would you send me if you need to go to the cheapest place or you need to go to the place with the most services or whatever? The best thing for you to do is to go to this site. It's just such a good site. So I just want to make sure you know about that. It's GLP Winner /plus sides, and you can go there and check it all out. Okay, it's a really good, they got reviews and everything. Like it's fantastic and all the price transparency that there is. And so, that can be hard, especially right now. There's a lot of people trying to upcharge, right? Overcharge. And so it's good for you to get in there and see what's what and what makes sense for you. So make sure that you do that. Now, to get started, she didn't tell me to do that. I just wanted to. But Sabina is an advocate and Sabina is all up in the business of this world. And she fights for affordable care. It's really important. And she advocates and she speaks other places and it's really important to her. Sabina, I I know you've been on the show before and I'm glad and people know that, but we get new people all the time. So I'm just going to tell them real quick what our show is about. And then I would love for you to tell us about you and GLP Winner a little bit more. So I, I, I would say that this podcast is really about, again, like education and advocacy so that you can really have good conversations with your doctor. But when I talked with my husband recently, he said, your content's not about weight loss, it's about healing. And it is. It's the mental piece that comes with this. It's the physical piece that comes with this. And then the who that you want to be when you're better, right? Because if you have this disease, you're a person that's sick and you deserve medicine. And so I just want to make sure that you have all the information you need. I think it's important. I've been in this community for 4 years. And what I have found is that there's just a lot of places that you can go and choose to get your information. And I'm pleased if you go everywhere. And you know that I support all of my creators, right? All my creator friends that come on here that have other shows. But our podcast is very reputable if this is your first time here. We have won 4 awards, one specifically for social impact. And we are ranked in the top 1% by listen notes of all podcasts in the world. So this is a very reputable place for you to get your information. And I really try to keep it that way and have on the best of the best. Okay. So I'm so glad to have you here. We're excited for you to go on this adventure with us. Please go back and watch other episodes. And if you're not new here, that I'm Kim, or if you are here. So I run the show. My friend Kat is my co-host and co-producer, and she does this with me. And she's just not here today. So Sabina is going to fill us in on all the things, and we'll just have a lovely conversation. So, Sabina, tell me a little bit about what you do in a little bit more detail. And you can talk, we know about the site, but tell me what you do.
Yeah. So I do content, not enough, honestly. I constantly feel behind, but I do a lot of content that's either related to GLP Winner, meaning like talking about when you're comparing options, where should you get your medication from, like all the telehealths, to be honest, they have misleading pricing. They're so confusing. Like often you have to fill in like a form with your name, email, and phone number before you can ever see a price. And I think that sucks. So that's why I made the tool where you could see prices side by side, review summaries side by side, see exactly what they offer, see if when you go up on dose, if the price is going to go $300 more a month or something ridiculous. Like that's why I made GLP Winner. I will also mention the content I do is either I review a lot of telehealth. I try to review a different telehealth every month. And then I also do content on access. That sometimes means lately it's a lot of the legislation that's coming in at the state level that's potentially going to shut down access to compounding. Sometimes that's some of the legal cases of the pharma companies suing people in our space. And really it all comes from the guise of like, is this threatening our access to this medication? Because most of us don't have affordable access to it. Compound is still so expensive for a lot of us. Yeah. And most people don't have coverage through their insurance for weight loss. And so we're looking at a medication that is hundreds of dollars a month. We deserve, part of why I made GLP Winner is because we deserve to be able to budget around that. And it's still not affordable. So I'm constantly tracking threats to affordability, opportunities for future affordability, and kind of the whole thing. A lot of people say I do the news. I don't do the news as thoroughly as some other content creators. I literally talk about the stories that I find interesting. And the common theme is access and deciding where you want to get your medication.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, I think people ask me all the time, and it's like, I'll be like, well, I like these people for this reasons and these people for these reasons. You know what I mean? And like, I try to not be like a straight affiliate with like only one place just because I want people to have options, and you just never know what's important to people. Right. But I agree. Like the issue with affordability is really difficult. And like, I think that one of the big differences is that, and I'd love to know your thoughts on this, is that, this isn't a weight loss med, right? Like this is a med that's like changing and saving lives, right? And I think if we're looking at the big picture, and you and I have talked about this before, that so many people are sick, like 40+% of America, like 70 if you're adding overweight, we're really at this like this time, right, where things could change. And I remember when we met in person for the first time, something you said to me was, I actually think this is the pressure to change the healthcare system that we've never been able to have before, because this many people are sick, right? And everybody wants this and everybody needs this. And obesity is literally unaliving our country slowly, like people in our country and our citizens. So I think like, and it's interesting, like even seeing other countries that are doing test pilots. I think it's UK, right? That's doing a test pilot to basically see, hey, like, can we give this medicine to people that aren't working, get them better and get them working, right? So like, that's not weight loss, that's health, And I think that it's really interesting to see like, we've kind of come at it from two different ways from advocate perspective. One, we're trying to, change the system, which is already straight trash,
Mm-hmm.
And then we're also like work within the system, bottom up, if you will. And then while that's all happening, because of this demand and this push, the system's kind of breaking and forming a new thing all the way around it with like cash pay pricing, right?
Yeah. Which there's good and bad things related to that, right?
Sure. Yeah.
For me, I'm married to someone with health issues with fibromyalgia. Mm-hmm. If you don't know what fibromyalgia is, it's like unexplained pain. Yeah. And he started taking a small dose of a GLP-1, had no need for weight loss, and it's absolutely changed his life.
Amazing.
And he's able to exercise now, and he wasn't before.
That's
so to me, that's like an off-label use. It's not a common, diagnosis that people have. And so I don't know if GLP-1s will ever be FDA approved for that. Maybe, in 20 years, but It might not make sense. There's a lot of medications that get prescribed off-label for things they're highly effective to, but it isn't a massive patient population. So it doesn't make sense to get FDA approval.
So friends that are new in terms of what off-label is, so it would be like, for example, my name is Kim and I take Mounjaro and, it's for type 2 diabetes is the indication that it's approved for and insurance covers it under that indication. But if I went to try to take Mounjaro for obesity, even though Mounjaro and zepbound are the exact same medication, they wouldn't cover it because everything is done by policy, right? Not just insurance company, it's by your policy. So taking it off label, so means I would try to be taking it for off label for obesity. I would take Mounjaro instead of taking zepbound. However, this is how things used to be in the beginning where they'd allow for that. The demand was just too high. At least that was the bullshit they gave us. And so they don't want to do it. So off label is like that, right? That it can be used for other indications, and sometimes it's not, like she said, like not even approved, right? And it may never be because it has to go through studies, right? And all of these trials and these years and millions of dollars, maybe billions, to be able to do all of these studies and get indication approval. And it seems like, and I don't know what your experience is, I think that the ones that they're going to go after, right, are going to be the big boys, right? Like sleep apnea, right? Like they're going to be like the ones they think that they have the most likelihood of reaching the most people, which I do think if you think about it, like in terms of autoimmune, because, we've talked about my sister has an autoimmune disorder too. And like, part of me is like, I wish she'd get on this. Like, bigger fish to fry. But like, I think that it does help, like you said, like a lot of people. I don't know if it's the inflammation. I don't know what it is there, but I don't know if they would really study for that because are there any indications that are approved for anyone with people with autoimmune? Are there meds for that?
No. I mean, yes, there's some, but like, I'll give an example. Let me Google this real quick.
Cool. We can do that. Live Google.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a medication. So I don't know if there are medications approved for autoimmune diseases, but a lot of those are like steroids to like, suppress your immune system, which then has risks because they make you like, not have as good of an immune system for fighting disease. But there's an interesting drug, naltrexone, which is used for like alcohol and opioid disorders. But sometimes when you take a very low dose of it, which has to be compounded through a compounding pharmacy for autoimmune disease, it makes a profound difference for people. Like it literally will change their life, but it's not FDA approved for that. It doesn't come in a dose that makes sense for that indication. So it has to go through a compounding pharmacy because, the FDA approved medication dosage doesn't work. It gets compounded and then it changes people's lives.
Wow. Yeah, that's fascinating. And I think like a lot of people have said that, like I've had people with PCOS be like, I'm telling you, it's all the things, and people with, lots of different autoimmunes that have been like, this has been life-changing for me. And so that's another thing to consider. Like most of those people are going to get it from compound, right? I think it's the chance of getting it through brand unless you're paying cash pay because insurance isn't going to cover it if it's an approved indication. So that's why another reason why these are just really, really important. For those who maybe missed it last time, can we go over some of the cases and maybe where they stand, if you have any updates?
The legal cases, I don't have major updates because it's
That's
like
okay.
things are still getting started for the year. I think there's some interesting things. Like actually, there's a new case that is interesting now that you mention it, which is that so there's been some broad drama with Hims and Hers, the big brand. They did a big Super Bowl ad. It's like everyone. This is a little gossipy. Everyone in the industry is kind of annoyed with them right now.
Yeah.
Because they don't do anything all year, and then they do a Super Bowl ad and they make it stink. But basically, Novo Nordisk came out with their oral wegovy in January. Hims came out with a Super Bowl ad, and then they came out with an ad campaign where they were launching an oral semaglutide. And when they launched the oral semaglutide, they said same active ingredient. It was clearly positioned to look visually similar to Novo's pill. Yeah. And Novo Nordisk got upset. They literally tweeted, this huge company tweeted out, "We think this is illegal. We're going to sue you."
Wow.
And then,
dang,
the FDA was like we're going to look at marketing in this area. The HHS general counsel was like, we're pursuing something against Hims. And then the SEC also came for Hims. And it's just like a big, they shit the bed, really. And so everybody in the industry broadly, like the industry of like compounded GLP-1s, is kind of upset with them because they're like, that was so unnecessary. Yeah. And for context, the FDA came out with a series of warning letters last September that was like, don't say same active ingredient. They think it's misleading. Now, is it confusing because it has to use the same active ingredient if it's compounded legally? Yes. But, the FDA regulates marketing for drugs, and they felt it was misleading. So they told specifically Hims in a letter, don't do this. And then when they came out with their wegovy pill, they did it. So it's like they wanted to pick a fight.
Yeah.
But what happened was Novo Nordisk a few days later sued them on patent. And pharma has never sued on patent. They usually sue on marketing issues being misleading. And by and large, this is an oversimplification of a bunch of court cases, right? By and large, those cases have not been successful. So now Novo Nordisk is suing on their major Ozempic patent.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I didn't think they were going to do because they hadn't for so long. Because a lot of normal people look at this and they're like, well, isn't what's happening with compounding patent infringement? It's like, that's complicated. But also Novo never sued on patent. Now they're suing on patent. And I don't think they're going for a preliminary injunction. I think they're trying to have like the full case go as long as possible. And it'll be really interesting to see how it plays out. But it's probably going to take years.
You think? Take a long time?
Years.
Jeez.
Years, especially if they don't ask for a preliminary injunction. So a preliminary injunction might be Novo Nordisk asking for a judge to tell Hims and Hers to stop temporarily. And reasons why they might want to do that is because they want to shut down Hims. But reasons why they might not want to do that is because if they don't get it, then it's sort of like an indication of how the case is going to go overall. Yeah. And they might want this like looming threat to everybody who's doing compounded medication of like, no, this is coming.
Yeah. So. Cool. I think I'm wondering because like you said, like they haven't sued on patent at all with these telehealth that we've seen. So why do you think that is? Now I am aware this is speculation.
Yeah.
And everybody know this is her opinion. But as an advocate in the space that is heavy in the space, I think it would be interesting to understand why do you think they haven't done it until now? Quick pause here. I've had moments on my GLP-1 journey where insurance changes or rising costs force me to look for a new provider. And honestly, that process can feel very overwhelming. But that's why the Plus Sides podcast is partnered with GLP Winner to give our subscribers a resource to help them make that decision easier. GLP Winner is a comparison platform that lets you explore telehealth providers in all 50 states, whether you're looking for brand name medications or compounded options. You can see pricing up front, read reviews, and get a clear picture of which provider might align best with your needs. Check it out today at glpwinner.com/plus sides. That's glpwinner.com/plus sides. Don't forget the Z.
Let me tell you a quick story. I was telling Kat how I was regaining weight after my 100-pound loss using GLP-1 medications, and I was having snacky cravings and waking up at 3 a.m., and I had hot flashes, and I was worried. But Kat was like, listen, I went through this last year. It's perimenopause, and I started HRT, and she used this company called Winona. So I started going there to see if this was something that was going with me. Turns out it was, because I'm 46. And it's been amazing. It's taken a while to find the right dose, but once I did, it's just been huge. I've been sleeping. I feel more myself again. And the hot flashes are gone, which is, geez, really bad. So I will tell you, it's just been so big for me. And so I wanted to partner with them on the podcast because obviously many of our listeners are going through the same age range and definitely are having these issues. And there's just no need for you to suffer. So if you go to the link that's in our link tree, you can click on that and save money. If you go there and you meet all the criteria, this might be something for you to try. So I just want to make sure you had this great resource because it's just been such a big difference for me and Kat. Again, you can go to the link in our link tree and get what you need.
20 seconds a week to lose 20% of your weight in a year with diet and exercise. That's the power of GLP-1s through Ro. Ro helps find the medication that's right for you, based on cost, availability, and your weight loss goals. Losing weight with GLP-1s is possible through Ro.
So first of all, nothing I say is legal, or it's legal, financial, or medical advice.
Yes.
But the speculation as to why they haven't sued on patent is because if they lose a patent, they lose everything, right? Mm-hmm. If they lose a patent case and their patent is not defensible, that would mean not only are compounding pharmacies going to continue to create this medication, but all the pharma companies, this is like their golden goose. It is a massive patent. All the pharma companies would do it. We would almost immediately have generics, within as fast as they could get bioequivalency studies. And typically when you have generics in the US, I learned this is fucking fascinating. Yeah. What happens is the companies who make generics start by violating the patent or suing on patents. Why? Because they're trying to get a generic even sooner. Wow. So that's like a common legal tactic before generics, because they're like, well, if we can get the generic sooner, that would be better. And typically when you have generics, they have to do what it's called a bioequivalence study. So they're basically going to take patients on the name brand medication, patients on their generic medication, and then kind of measure, like, is there anything really fundamentally different here? Yeah. Those studies tend to be faster and smaller. And honestly, for injectables, a lot of times that gets waived, the bioequivalency study. Wow. So in theory, we could have generics very, very fast if Novo Nordisk lost the patent lawsuit and the patent was determined to not be defensible, right? Yeah. So obviously Novo Nordisk probably doesn't want to feel like they're competing against compounding pharmacies or that compounding pharmacies are taking their market share. But if the Ozempic patent never existed anymore, like every single pharma company would be like, hey, have ours. Yeah. And it's higher risk, really. If they can't defend the patent, it's very high risk. And the patent for Ozempic has already been overturned in many, many other countries, like at least 6. And many other countries, because the medication is so valuable, they are either invalidating, overriding, or, speeding up the time to generics in other countries because they want their people in those countries to have access to this amazing medication. Yeah. And in the US, that's not something, technically the law says that they can do that, but that's not something we have a lot of precedent or expectation to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. What about, there was one country recently that something happened where they didn't file a patent, I don't know, extension.
That's Canada. So in Canada, there is a situation where there's a patent, the Ozempic patent actually for Novo Nordisk, and all they needed to do is continue to pay like a $250 Canadian fee, like, I don't know, every 3 to 5 years or something. Yeah. Some lawyer didn't pay it. And it's like, how did this get through? So I think generics are in theory available in Canada, but I have not followed up to see where they are. Because it's like starting in January 2027. I think they have to get some amount of approval to be a generic, but I'm not as familiar with Canada. Yeah. But honestly, like I think the lawyers who forgot to file that, I think they're heroes.
Secret heroes.
Yeah, I think
one for the team.
A job and they're heroes, but like that's just me being paranoid.
I don't know. If I was them, I'd be like, I'm the one that did it. I need a job.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so funny. I mean, I'm wondering too, like what is the ripple effect from that, right? So if a generic is available in Canada, like my dad's chemo is a generic from Canada. You know what I mean? That gets through cost plus and considerably less. So I'm like wondering, does that trickle down to the US? You know?
So that's actually something we looked into, and I'm not sure the exact legal thing. So it's legal to import small amounts, like maybe 3 months of medication from Canada or other countries for personal use. But I don't know. Once anyone starts doing that at scale, then it looks like commercialization of Canadian drugs. And so I think that gets into a legal gray area where that's why you weren't seeing it as often used. And I will tell you personally, for safety reasons, I think compounded is safety. Now, the FDA has not approved compounded medication for safety or efficacy. I'm making no claims of safety with compounded medication. But what happens with compounded medication, this is like my personal opinion. What happens with compounded medication is that like sometimes often the active ingredient is not made in the US. It comes to the US, compounders make the medication, they test it in the lab, and then they send it out. So it's all domestic. When you have medication like an Ozempic from Canada that's in a pen, it's crossing borders, which means you have supply chain issues, and it's not getting tested once it's in the US.
Yeah.
And there's already issues with counterfeit Ozempic, meaning like you could go to Walgreens or CVS or Rite Aid and get your Ozempic filled and it could be counterfeit.
Yeah.
And that's rare, but it happens even in the US.
Yeah.
And so to me, I think like once you have medication that is crossing borders, that has not been tested for like it to be what you say it is, I actually think that's higher risk than having compounded medication that gets tested domestically before it goes out to patients. But that's just my opinion, because compounded medication obviously has not been FDA approved for safety or efficacy.
Right. Yeah. And I think like too, I think there are people who are sort of fed up with all the shit, right? Like they've done compound, paid out the wazoo, right? They've done the brand, paid out more of the wazoo. And then many of them have been like, if I'm going to be taking risk anyway, I'll take the most calculated risk I can and go gray market. And I think that is happening like crazy because of all this bullshit that is happening in this country, when they really just need to find a way to make it more affordable. And it's not that, the current administration hasn't done that, so to speak, but it's still not enough. And I will tell you guys, like I'm all about companies being able to make money and all of those different things, but there is a point where things are egregious. And I think we're in that area. You know what I mean? And so I think like, and this is just my opinion, don't sue me, but I just think that it's so important that we have compound, and even that we're able to get compound to lower pricing. I'm wondering, like, what do you think about these when the newer meds come out? So like when Cagrisema comes out, do you think that, or when retatrutide comes out, I could say it on YouTube. Do you think, or it's retatrutide, I've been saying it around all these years, retatrutide, when it comes out, the triple agonist, like, I'm wondering if they'll lower prices on anything else,
I mean, I think prices will lower a little bit, maybe, but I more think those medications are coming in at a higher price point.
Yeah.
So when you look at Trump's most favored nations negotiations, we were supposed to already see, and Trump RX launched, I think in the last month, we were supposed to already see prices come down with Trump RX's launch. And all we saw was basically like a $50 coupon on the first month off of the direct-to-consumer prices. So I'm a little bit like, I don't know at this point if we're expecting prices to come down significantly. Yeah. And the other interesting thing about most favorite nation, or Trump RX, if I can talk about that for a second, because that's a recently launched website. It kind of does two things. So it was supposed to be for favorable medication prices. And sure, like maybe you can go on there and find a medication price. It's mostly routing people to the direct-to-consumer pharma websites like LillyDirect. And the prices are not any different. And then it has a GoodRx like kind of like PBM rebate. Now, it would be better to maybe go to the direct-to-consumer pharma website or just go to GoodRx. So when you actually look at Trump RX, they have the same bin numbers like that you would put in for the PBM discount as GoodRx. So it's just GoodRx, except GoodRx actually has more medications than TrumpRx.
Wow.
And it has generics. And at this point, GoodRx also has a bunch of competitors.
Yeah.
So if a lot of the medications that pharma volunteered to get discounts on initially in the negotiations, those are medications that not a lot of people were on. Generics are generally available.
Yeah.
And if you go to TrumpRx, you're not going to see any generics, which we know means you might be overpaying for a medication.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit like the idea of TrumpRx, like there was a lot of good there, but functionally it's kind of a storefront for just pharma, no generics. So it's not necessarily yet fulfilling the full promise, and we haven't seen the prices specific to GLP-1s fully come down yet.
Yeah.
Could that change in the next 6 months? Totally possible it could change.
Yeah. When it comes to the Wegovy pill, and I think that it might be good, especially since it like came up in the HIMSS and the lawsuit and all the things with patent. We had Rybelsus, right, which is a semaglutide pill that was lower doses. So how, for our listeners that don't know, right, how is the Wegovy pill not just that, but is it, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's very similar to Rybelsus. It is, but I will mention for people who are on both Rybelsus or any GLP-1, if they have diabetes, they generally see a little bit less weight loss than if they didn't have diabetes.
Yeah.
Right. So Rybelsus, and the Wegovy pill broadly, generally compared to the injectable version, more side effects, less weight loss. What they did with the Wegovy pill that's interesting is they formatted the dosing and the FDA approval trials so that people were on an even higher dose. And that's because they wanted to get that 20% weight loss number, because they know some people just look at the percentage weight loss and like, what medication is the best? So they really increased the doses for that. Now, there's a lot of gotchas, I think, to the Wegovy pill. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I think it's valuable for some people. I would not personally take it because you have to take it first thing in the morning with a minimal amount of water, and you can't eat it right after it. So if you wake up in the morning and you're like, I really need my coffee first thing in the morning, I can't function, maybe it isn't a great fit, right? And then broadly, injectable is just better, guys. Fewer side effects, better results. Like
it's not daily.
More consistent bioavailability for injectable. You should just do injectable. You should just do injectable.
Yeah. I think that people will. I mean, we've already seen I think massive success with the Wegovy pill in market, and I suspect that is because of the price point, right? Because I think it's something crazy, right? Like $150 a month or something.
That's just the lowest dose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, it's like gotcha of like,
I wonder the lowest dose what it compares to.
Yeah. Well, you compare all the prices of the starting out at, they want that low dose to be low so that they can say, oh, the price is this, when really it's like $500.
Yeah.
Functionally, for most of us, a lot of the direct consumer prices end up being $500.
Yeah. Yeah. So crazy. Yeah. Yeah. I think and so then it's at that point, if you're paying the same, what do you want to do? Right. And there are some people that like a pill and rather take a pill every day and all of those different things. And I think it's wonderful for that. I also think that we'll probably see an influx of people on that Wegovy pill that don't have community support, that don't know about this podcast or the other shows that we have. Right. And I think that there are just so many PCPs that are just going to prescribe it. And people don't understand the changes that their body's going to go through and be prepared for it, or when there's ups and downs and stalls and all these different things and plateaus. And so I'm very concerned that we don't have the infrastructure to support the amount of GLP-1 availability we're about to have. That concerns me considerably, but I can't train PCPs. I'm just me. I'm not a trainer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there are some doctors that do. I've met some.
Yeah. Well, a lot of doctors. So here's what's kind of messed up. A lot of doctors will not offer medication to you because they're like, oh, my patient, I assume they don't want to inject themselves. Right. Yeah. So there are doctors where maybe their patients are great candidates for injectable GLP-1s, and the doctors are just assuming that the patient doesn't want to inject themselves, and then they won't offer that medication. So doctors think that way, and they make these decisions for you. And sometimes they don't communicate that to you, and they don't have a conversation with you. Injectable is better for most people.
Yeah.
I do think there's a type of person who's maybe microdosing injectable GLP-1 who the Wegovy pill might be an okay fit for, because some people who are microdosing, it's because they want other health benefits, which I still would inject if you want other health benefits.
It
And
doesn't, especially compounds, like nothing. Yeah.
yeah, or maybe they want to lose a little bit of weight, but they still want to primarily be doing the work. Like they don't want it to be easy. They still want the punishment because they don't want to. They don't want the full therapeutic dose. They just want to ease into it, or maybe they need to lose so little weight that they're just like, they just want a little help.
Yeah.
Those people might be great candidates for the Wegovy pill. Like that might work for them if they don't want nearly as much medication or effectiveness. But you know, by and large, I think, you know, a lot of people, maybe the pill will be a gateway to be like, oh, I can see some of the changes if they were better and stronger.
Yeah.
I mean, injectable.
I mean, for sure, I feel like that's what Victoza was for me, right? Is it was like my gateway, right? It was all I could get because I started during the shortage. It was the daily. But once I got to a certain dose, I didn't have food noise. And so I was like, you know, and then I didn't lose enough weight on it to continue on it. And then so they got Ozempic approved, you know? And so it's like, and then I lost tons of weight on that. That was fantastic. You know, it was even better. And like, that's the thing is I'm so excited about the even better things. I do think that there are some things like that. And just like personally, guys, like, I don't know if you've heard me talk about on the show, but I do think that there's so much more GIP, right, compared to GLP-1 in tirzepatide. And a lot of people, when they've been on these high doses for a long time, like me, are reporting this sort of flat feeling mentally, and not just sort of being like apathy. Like I think it's called like anhedonia or something like that.
So
and,
what's interesting is I learned a new word related to this.
Oh, cool.
So psychiatrists who obviously like, you know, talk about mental health, like these things for a living, sometimes they don't like it when you say anhedonia as a GLP-1, which I think I have some amount of it, where it's like an apathy. Like I'm not drawn to, like, when you look at the root in anti-hedonic, like hedonic. So you think of hedonic things like drinking, partying, having fun, impulsive behavior. I'm not drawn to do that anymore. So I hear the word anhedonia, it's a great fit. But sometimes they think anhedonia is like severe depression where like you can't even like want to do anything. I heard a new word, abulia. I heard this yesterday, which is sometimes what you see with patients who have schizophrenia or on schizophrenia medication, which is like, it's like the positive version of it I've heard for tirzepatide is an overwhelming sense of contentment of like, I don't need anything, right? But the negative side of that is like, I'm just not motivated. I don't want to do anything. And like, it's like, I'm not drawn to hedonic things. Like, I don't care about drinking. Like you ask me when I want to eat for dinner. And a lot of days I'm just kind of like, whatever. Like, I'm not drawn anywhere. Yeah. And it sometimes feels like that's like a lack of passion almost, or like excitement in your life. And over time that can kind of feel dull.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's true. And I think ultimately too, when it comes to these medicines is like, even though we have 20 years of data, ultimately these double agonists and even the triple agonist things that are coming out, we're still studying. It's not that we don't have long-term data for approval, but we do not necessarily have long-term data enough, right? Like it's more time. And I think, and they gather these things. That's why when people get pregnant, they try to follow them if like they were on the meds. You know, there's different things like that the big pharma does kind of like track. But I just think like what I found is, because I feel like I'm a guinea pig, I just decided to do my shot every 10 days and I've seen a huge difference in the flatness. You know what I mean? And not attracted to things that I would say are unhelpful. And like, cause like that's it. Like the overeating, unhelpful, right? The, you know, like the over drinking, unhelpful, the over shopping, unhelpful, like all of those things. But I do think that like, just like with surgery, like there can be transfer addictions, right? And like, for sure, if you have always, like me, like I talked on the show, right, rewarded yourself with food, right? Or tried to make yourself feel better with food or celebrate with food. And like everything has been centered around that. When it's just gone, that's intense. And that's where our psychiatrist friends need to come into play, guys.
Well, it's like if you like, for me, like I had a traumatic childhood. I used to like regulate my nervous system with food. Right. And so to me, food was emotionally comforting,
Mm-hmm.
but it was also like when you're in a toxic environment and no one supports you, no one tells you they love you, like food might be the only positive thing you have that day.
Yeah.
And then to like be on tirzepatide and food has like no control over me and lose that, it's sort of like what do you replace that with? Is it a feeling of emptiness? Is it a feeling of apathy?
Yeah.
And it's super interesting because like when I've experimented with slightly delaying my dose, I get into this what I call the shit zone, where I'm really hungry, but then I don't want to eat. And it's just kind of miserable. Like I'll feel the hunger, but then I'm not drawn to anything. Or like I'll eat like 2 bites and then get the ick on whatever I'm eating.
Yeah.
And it's just like better actually for me to eat a slightly higher or more consistent dosing, because then it's like maybe I'm not excited, but I'm not hungry at the same time. Yeah. It's like this weird dynamic. And my sex drive has tanked too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's happened to a lot of people. Some people have it increased. I've heard some reports of that. And other people are like,
I think that's because I've lost weight before. I think that's because when you're like losing weight, you feel hotter, right?
Yeah.
I think that's why it increases for some people.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of people it decreases. And it's interesting because to just like overshare my life.
That's what we do here.
I got a Viagra prescription, like the pill, and then I got like a Viagra compounded cream, which is generally more effective for women. But
it's the Scream cream, right?
You said that. I never heard it referred to that, but I think
that's what my doctor said. She's like, I want to call you into this pharmacy. And I'm like, oh
yeah. And it's interesting because one of the things actually that I've just started that I'm still in the process of figuring out is I started HRT. I'm 40. I didn't particularly think I was having perimenopause symptoms, really. But apparently a lot of problems I had are being fixed by starting on estrogen. And I'm figuring it out because I started out with estrogen patches. I'm allergic to adhesive. So like, even though I did that for a month, and even though it's been like probably 2 or 3 weeks since I've been there, I have these like red rash circles.
Oh no.
I'm so allergic to the adhesive. It would literally like make my skin look bad. I was itchy all over. I couldn't fall asleep because I was itchy, but I was like, man, brain fog better. I was having joint pain and muscle pain just went away. I was like more engaged. My sex drive was better. I was like, wow, this was actually fixing a lot of issues that I didn't even realize.
You were like dismissing his other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, maybe the joint pain is just me getting older, not perimenopause. Because you have like estrogen receptors in your joints, apparently. Yeah. So then I'm going through a process of trying other things because my doctor wanted me to be on topical because topical is better and reduces risks for, stroke and some other stuff. But now I'm like having an allergic reaction to the next topical I tried.
No.
So I'm probably going to end up on some compounded version.
Yeah.
Because I have sensitive skin, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, like another reason for compound, like this is why this is so important. It's not just the compound for GLP-1, although we know that's like the focus. It's lots of different reasons. And I think like even what Sabina and I are talking about having like side effects of these medications, like whether it's apathy or nausea, right? Like a lot of times we've learned that people get great benefits from spacing them out. And that's not something that was in the studies. And it's certainly not something that's approved. But speaking of that, I heard tell that, that Eli Lilly got it approved to have the quickie pen, right? That's coming out. Yeah. And that allows for
really direct. Yeah.
Yeah. And that allows for like custom doses, right?
It's unclear to me. So I'm not a doctor. I haven't used a quick pen. It allows you to customize the dose somewhat, but mostly it's like you have one pen and 4 needles for the month. So you have multiple needles, you swap out, you're still using the same pen. I think there's some customization, but I'm not sure how customizable it is. Maybe someone in the comments knows.
Yeah. Let us know. Cause like my mom used the quickie pen from UK back when it wasn't $8 million. Just kidding. I'm being overdramatic. Shocking. And she was able to get like the 15, right. And then dose it out in the low dose for several months so that it was affordable for her because she's on Medicare. You know what I mean? And that was a big deal for her. And then the price went up and she might as well just buy it here and see if she did one with compound. Right. And so And she likes compound. Like, I mean, there's a lot of benefits to compound, and and I do think it is important too, as more people try these and as we learn, that like, I think that there's not just like one dose or one thing for one person. Like everybody's body is different,
Yeah.
And so I think it's so important for so many reasons, Now there are some people and some legislation that are trying to reduce access, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's talk about
As no surprise, pharma doesn't like compounded.
Sure.
And there is legislation on the state level that they're trying to sneak through in a lot of different states. Let me open my document. So there is legislation, Indiana, Colorado, Kentucky, Georgia, Washington, Florida, Virginia, Mississippi, Arizona.
Oh my God.
And I think there's legislation coming in California and Iowa.
Oh God.
Yeah, this is why I was like, hey, leave me 5 minutes. I gotta get these in front of me.
Yeah.
So let me talk about what's most pressing. So I'm pretty sure the Indiana bill passed and is likely going to get signed into law. However, let me talk to you through the life cycle of the Indiana bill, because I think it will be showing you what's happening with some of the other bills.
Okay.
Indiana is the home state of Eli Lilly. Eli Lilly is the largest employer in Indiana. This is their spot. Mm-hmm. So obviously, they have a lot of influence in that state. And what's interesting is like this started out, so many of these bills, oversimplification, because like every legislator or every rep who co-sponsors the bill might put a little bit of their own flavor in it. Mm-hmm. The Indiana bill started out very typical to many of these bills, which was restricting all of compounding in the Senate. It got amended to cut that out and have it only be about weight loss, right? And then it got amended to basically how some of these bills are working is it's redefining things that are already defined at the federal level. So the FDA, the Food and Drug Act, regulates and creates compounding pharmacies. The same law that makes the FDA allows for compounding pharmacies to exist. And what it's doing is it's redefining in slightly different ways things that are in there. And why is that bad for business? A lot of reasons. First of all, it creates multiple sets of rules that are often conflicting or confusing for compounding pharmacies to follow. And the more that the requirements and legislation is different from state to state, it just increases the cost of doing business to do stuff in a regulatory way. It also goes after the API, which is the active pharmaceutical ingredient. I always say, think about it as like the lemon that goes into the lemonade. It's the active ingredient. And it's basically taking these compounding pharmacies and making it so that they're getting regulated like drug manufacturers, rather than what happens now. They get the active ingredient in, usually through a wholesaler. They test it. They make the product. They test it again. And they send it off to independent labs to test. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, okay, we can send this out. Mm-hmm. They're making it so that they have to do testing on the active ingredient, like at the source level, and have information that they may not necessarily have. And the FDA already regulates this. The FDA specifically for GLP-1s put together what they call a green list of manufacturers that are like, these are the manufacturers that we think are doing a good job that you should use for GLP-1s. And compounding pharmacies use them. So it's taking that and it's putting a bunch of other requirements where it's really unclear how you would meet those requirements. Things like must be pharmaceutical grade. That sounds great to you and me. Like pharmaceutical grade, yeah, I want pharmaceutical grade stuff injected in me. But there's no definition. So like, when there's no definition, it's like, how do you actually meet that requirement? They're also requiring, there's part of the law that's also often requiring for an NDA number. An NDA number is a new drug application number, which basically, as far as I can tell, and some of the lawyers I've spoken to can tell, means that they have to use FDA-approved medication for compounding. And that would make compounded GLP-1s kind of untenable, right? Because Eli Lilly and Novartis don't want to sell their medication to compounding pharmacies for them to compound it, or it would cost so much. And then the penalties for not following these laws that it's unclear how you could fucking follow. Yeah. Because they're written in a confusing way. They're redefining things that are already defined. They're conflicting with other federal law. Yeah. The penalty is often $1,000 per dose, which is totally untenable.
Insane.
So what's fucked up about this legislation is that a lot of it is starting out with all compounding. Yeah. So that means people who have like me, when I was talking about have allergies, I'll probably need a compounded medication. It's taking away the most simplest form. There are patients who are currently accessing medication that they can only access through compounding pharmacies.
Yeah.
It's taking that away and making their medication either totally inaccessible, totally unaffordable, totally like non-ideal. So if I could only get my estrogen medication through a patch, and which means I have hives and rashes on my body, like that's a clear downside. That's a downgrade, or I can't get that treatment at all. So compounding pharmacies make treatments that are not available through FDA-approved medication available. And they also provide medication during shortages. So during COVID, there were shortages of like amoxicillin for children. Yeah. And compounding pharmacies stepped up and gave kids that. And without that, children would have died from diseases they didn't need to die from.
Absolutely. My son can only take, he can't take amoxicillin. He's allergic. So we have to do a compound version of this other one because he had rashes and stuff, and they were out of that. And I had to call around everywhere trying to find it during COVID. And it was really difficult because that's all he could take. And he had chronic ear infections and they were horrible. And it's so important. Like, I think that, and I think that, and there's also things that we talked about when you were on, like about like end of life care with compounding, like having options for that, and that we don't want to lose that. So I think it's weird. It's like they're trying to swat the fly, but they're like swatting like the cow. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. You ask most Americans, we all know our healthcare system is broken. Like maybe we disagree.
Everybody hates it. Everybody hates
it. We all know it's too expensive. We don't go to the doctor because we're scared about how much it's going to cost. If we have to go to the hospital, we're terrified about the bills we're going to get later. Absolutely. Right? That's not ideal.
And then people avoid it because of that, because they're like, well, I can't afford an ambulance ride. Like, all those different things. I mean, it's crazy. And it's sort of gotten to where it's like, if you have insurance, you're the have and the have nots. And then it's like, so it's such a big problem. And that's a lot of the work like Sabina and I do too, right? Where we're part of, organizations, and, we go to events and we talk with doctors and leaders in the space and all these different things, because we are trying to get in there and, at least have our voice heard, because it's going to be like bottom up. I'm wondering too, like part of me thinks that the reason they're doing the quickie pen here is because then the argument that compound can make for custom dose is a lot harder to make if a custom dose brand is available. Right. And then I think that if it was like, if they were going to be afforded, like, and I don't even know how it works now, like for compounded, if it's a brand, are they getting the API directly from the big pharma? Because I think that's what it would have to be. And my guess is they would charge so that they couldn't upcharge on it, right? They couldn't make money on it.
It would be unaffordable for compounding pharmacies to do that, right? Yeah. It would really just be taking something, first of all, compound is already too expensive.
Yeah.
It would be taking something that's already too expensive and making it incredibly expensive for patients who have to have customized medication.
Yeah.
That's the point, is that they want to shut down compounded. And the fact that they're taking, like, first of all, I don't support them shutting down compounded GLP-1s either. But the fact that they're taking all compounding with it is just absolutely inhumane.
Absolutely. It's so wrong. It's like where I was talking about, like, what point does it become egregious, right? Like it's just not something that's okay. So what makes you think that, or how's that bill changed over time? Is it still going to be all of compounding?
So the bill change, it's mostly gutted. It's pretty positive. Okay. Now I could nitpick things. They're having a study on compounding done in Indiana, and like, who knows if that study is going to be incredibly biased? Like, we don't know. Like, it's a Illinois state. Like, I don't know, right? We'll see. And then they're also requiring med spas to register. Mm-hmm. And
I don't hate that.
Which I don't hate that either, right? Like med spas actually registering themselves and like having some kind of licensing procedure, like that's totally fine. Yeah. Because right now, the state boards of pharmacy can inspect pharmacies, if they can't inspect med spas that might be doing a small amount of compounding there. So it's like, inspect places if it's appropriate. I do want to talk a little bit about the most pressing bills.
Let's do it.
So some of the bills have been deferred or defeated, which is Virginia, Mississippi, Arizona. Like ended in committee. Florida has 2 bills, and I can give you a list of bills to put in the comments.
Yeah, we can. Yeah. I'll put it in. I'll put all the details in the show notes, guys, so you can click and look. And because everything we have on here, we have people with opinions, and we're always clear when it's their opinions. But we want you to to be able to be critical thinker and hear what we're saying, but go and form your own opinion. So we'll make sure resources are available for you.
Yeah. So Florida is still active. It's HB 860 and HB 877. I'm optimistic that it's not going to go through, but like,
Great, because that was a bad one, right?
Is a really bad. And if we have no compounding in Florida, a lot of compounding pharmacies are in Florida. So if we lost Florida as a compounding hub, we would all have issues filling our prescriptions if we're on compound.
Yeah, because so many are there. Yeah.
And there's literally an argument that it might put like name brand back into shortage. Like a lot of people feel like without compound and gray, like name brand would be back in shortage. There's a Washington bill, HB 2613, that technically the last time I looked, it's still technically in committee. I think it's not expected to get out of committee, but like it's still technically not officially eliminated. Mm-hmm. And so I want to talk about the most pressing ones.
Yeah, let's do.
Not write down the name. Okay, there's a Kentucky bill, which I don't have the number of, but I'll put it in the notes. There's Colorado SB 26066. Okay. Again, follows the same format of these bills. That actually has a hearing today when we're recording this on March 5th. Wow. A Senate committee hearing. And then there's Georgia Bill 1361. And so I know you're busy, Kim. But you are in Georgia.
I am.
It would be great if you're in Georgia or if you're in any of these states looking for patients who want to tell their stories about being on compound and having a great outcome, whether it's, you telling your story about your son who needs a special antibiotic, to either have written testimony, like in person, or a lot of states, I don't know about Georgia, do remote testimony where you just like go on a Zoom call and you testify for like 2 minutes during a committee hearing. Or, just generally getting your story out there, like maybe doing press in the area of just like, hey, compounded medication changes lives, because it absolutely does. Yeah. And advocating for it. But if you're also just a normal person, there are things you can do. You can contact your reps if you're in one of these states, particularly Colorado, Kentucky, Georgia are the most pressing, and let them know that you don't like this legislation and that you use compounded medication and you want to continue to get access to your medication through compounding pharmacies.
Love that.
I get the sense, and this is wild speculation that I've...
That's okay. As long as we say it first.
Yeah. I get the sense that a lot of the legislatures who are sponsoring these bills, they've been sold a crazy story from pharma that I don't think is actually accurate. Yeah. Because when I watch the committee hearings for these bills, the pharma representatives, they're talking like we're getting rid of the gray market. And let me tell you, these bills do nothing for the gray market. Yeah. What they do is they confound compounded and gray. And what would happen if we put more pressure on compounded and got rid of compounding pharmacy? A lot of people would go gray. I understand why people go gray. I don't think it's ideal. I think we should be able to get prescription medication prescribed by a doctor in an affordable way and have our doctor in the loop, running lab work, keeping an eye on things, understanding if we have any contraindications with other medications or health complications. I think when you go gray and you don't have a legitimate way of getting your medication, you're less likely to tell your doctor about it. Yeah. And to be honest, if you're on a GLP-1, your doctor needs to know that you're on it, because there's serious medications. There's issues if you need surgery or have other things, like they need to know, So to me, it's really negative that we're creating this chilling environment where people are going to have to go to less legitimate, less regulated sources. Mm-hmm. To me, that shouldn't be necessary.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they've found a way we've had many people from Gray Market that listen to the show, where they have, people that do it because they have to, right? And they're not doing it because, in my experience, they're not doing it because they want to be skinny, right? They're doing it because they're sick people that need medicine. And that's just, it's where they can go, it's where they can get it. And, I think that, a lot of people are doing like the newer ones, like retatrutide, or at least that's what we think, and right. I think that's the next thing is like, is it, like that's all of our great friends, like they do, they try to do testing and stuff like that, and batch testing, but I'm also like with third parties. But honestly, still, do you know that that vial that you have was a part of that test, right? Like, I think that's something that, those things get lost in the shuffle when there's not any kind of like oversight and stuff. And keep in mind, what I am telling you, I have learned from my friends that are on gray market, and I have a bunch.
Like there are people who batch test their own product, and to be honest, a lot of people in gray, it's a lot of trust me. Here's the COA. Here's the test results. Like, it's a lot of trust me. And I know there's a lot of astroturfing markup. Like, there's a lot of sketchy shit in gray.
Yeah, they know it. Yeah. They know it. I don't think they know until they get in, but like they know. And that's why they always say, like, it is a last resort, I mean, I think there's some people like, the people that are selling it is different, but like the people in the community, for the most part, like they are trying to be like, hey, it's the last resort. Everybody wants to pay $25 for brand, right? Everybody would do that if they could, but I think like, I even heard, what's that singer that just won all the awards? I can't remember his name. Jelly Roll, right? You don't know? Okay. So he's a singer, Grammy, and a lot of awards, and his wife has a presence, a social media presence, and she really out loud was talking to somebody else who has a bunch of podcasts and saying like, I'm going to try Retta. Like, I'm starting Retta. And she doesn't have obesity, but Jelly Roll, I don't know if she does, but Jelly Roll does. And he talks about it, how he didn't want to do GLP and how he has insulin resistance and all this different stuff on one of these podcasts. But I was just thinking, does she have any idea that that's not approved for anything yet? Like, I don't know. Like, are people telling her this, or are they just giving it to her? Like, because clearly that is gray. Like, you're not going to get Retta through like an FDA regulated pharmacy, because it's not an FDA.
It's illegal for compounding pharmacies to make Retta. And for what it's worth, Retta is super promising, but
we're very excited about it.
like we don't have all the data yet.
Yeah, we don't.
There are increased risks to taking an unapproved medication where there's not enough research done.
Yeah. So, and also knowing that's what it is, right? Like, because ultimately they could probably give you tirzepatide and be like, this is Retta. Like, I mean, they could, in theory, like, you don't know, you just don't know. So it's like, but I think that people are at the point where they're so exhausted by the system and the price and being sick that they're willing to take risks with their lives. And it's not like I don't understand that and empathize. I do, and I think like, that's why we try to do the, show where we give them this information, because if they don't have doctors, then, I want to make sure that they at least know what to ask and what to do and things like that. And the one thing I've learned on this journey, guys, for 4 years, especially if you guys are new here, is obesity and treating it is a moving target, because we have metabolic adaptation and our bodies are constantly changing and evolving and trying to fight us. And so one medicine forever and just thinking that it'll work forever, it just doesn't seem like that's the case for most people that have had obesity a long time. That's what I find. And that's what the doctors are able to validate when they come on the show. It changes. And there's lots of things that, affect your weight and affect your health. And so it's important that you have transparency with your doctor about all the things that you're on, and, you deserve that, so just know that's something that Sabina and I fight for, so just know. Yeah, I will look into the Georgia thing though. That sounds good.
Yes. And let me know if I can connect you with people so you can be more.
That might be good. Yeah, let's go ahead and do it, because I got another day or so. But so anyway, let's so I think we talked about what were the other bills? So we listed the ones we think are the most important.
Colorado, Kentucky, Georgia. Yeah. I think that's a good cover of the bills, but I have a couple other interesting stories.
Yeah. Let's do.
So first of all, the FDA released, I think it was 2930 warning letters to compounding pharmacies and mostly telehealths.
Yeah.
And so
this was all out with the Hims/Hers things that we talked about, right?
This is after it. Yeah, it was on the 20th of February. So I expected Hims to get one. They didn't, but they fixed all of their marketing, before they got another warning letter, or maybe something bigger is coming from them. I don't know, right? But what's interesting is the FDA warning letters, by and large, they're focused on two things. Not saying same active ingredient, because they felt like that's misleading. They don't want patients to be buying compounded thinking it is name brand. It's genuinely a different treatment. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. And so they don't want confusion there. And then the other thing is logos on vials. What do I mean by that? When you see telehealth companies that has the name of the telehealth on the vial, on their website, on their marketing, in their ads. Mm-hmm. The logos on vials they felt was misleading because they are not producing that medication. That medication is not FDA approved. Yeah. And so it feels like they're branding this vial as almost being like their custom compound, blend, etc. Now, by law, when you buy compounded medication, it needs to have the logo and name of the compounding pharmacy that makes it. So the FDA was like, you can do that to show people what compounding pharmacy it's coming from, but you can't put your logos on the vials anymore. So you're probably going to, if you get a bunch of GLP-1 ads, which I do, you're probably going to see that transition out for many people over the next few months. But yeah, the FDA felt like that was confusing.
Why do you think all these states are trying to crack down on this? Like, do you think that it's just big pharma swinging their big Ds?
Yeah, like, it's big pharma swinging their big Ds. It's big pharma. You can get things through faster in the state level than the federal level, and fewer people are engaged. So that's what they're doing.
Yeah. And then is the whole idea that you think that it'll trickle up to a federal level, or is that the hope?
Potentially, right? And having federal bills and state bills, they feed into each other where you're like, hey, or you can be like, Indiana passed this law. Don't you want to pass it?
Totally. Followers. Be a leader, not a follower. That's what my dad always said. What about, I had heard recently, I'm squirreling. It was important, I swear. Oh, I know. Something was going through with legislations with PBMs.
There is. I haven't followed that well enough to speak to it, but there's legislation that's helping to try to get rid of PBMs, and it's also trying to get rid of, basically, like, you'll have one company, like United Healthcare, I'll use an example. They own the health insurance company, they own PBMs, they are starting to own their own pharmacies, like they're starting to own their own providers. And so we might have laws around things like the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. One of the things it brought in, which sounds good superficially, is like insurance companies cannot profit more than 20%. So like they can't be charging us more and profiting more than 20%, right? So how do insurance companies grow their revenue every year? The price of healthcare needs to go up so that 20% keeps growing. But the other ways that they may have done it is by introducing PBMs, which PBMs are like an intermediary between the insurance company and the pharmacy, and they negotiate prices. But really what they do is they take a cut. So there are all these middlemen. So you look at like a company like potentially United Healthcare, where it's like they own the providers, they own the pharmacy, they own the PBM, they own the insurance. Really, it's like we're just monetizing the entire stack and pipeline of healthcare.
Yeah.
And that also lets them set prices. Yeah. Right. So it creates these situations where US healthcare prices keep going up disproportionately, higher, like faster than inflation. And it's because we have all these people in the middle who are taking their cut. And then when you're like maybe the insurance company has regulation, but when we create like another company in the middle that's like, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to take the payment, we're going to negotiate, like we're going to take a cut too. So all of these things stacked together is a big part of why the healthcare situation is broken. There is legislation, as far as I know, hasn't gone through, but I haven't been following as closely as I would like. Hyper focused on the GLP-1 access.
I heard it was close. That's what I heard. Like, and I had kind of heard too that, and this is all like, so is why Sabina and I are just catching up. But I had also heard that they were trying to eliminate the whole idea of rebates. So like there were like to have that go away. So that whole like coupon card, right? That is a farce. Okay. You use that coupon card. And then when you do, nobody really knows who gets what, because the PBMs are quote negotiating this. But all this time, guys, during the shortage, the baloney, this is all speculating, please don't sue me. The baloney that we saw where the insurance companies were like, you guys sign up and are paying $1,000 a month for your insurance and you want $1,000 medication. You ain't paying $1,000 for that medication, insurance company. But that was not the narrative, right? The narrative was, it's too many, the demand's too high, we can't afford it, we're losing money. Blah. No. It was higher than, and this is my opinion, it was higher than what they had expected. So they, at the same time, so like, they're going to allocate, this is my opinion, they're going to allocate, right? How many coupons they're going to be using. So when everybody's using all the coupons, then everything gets crazy. And I think that's why we saw a pullback during the shortage of being like, nah, you can only do this if you have a diabetic diagnosis and things like that. So that is all my opinion. But it is bullshit. And they've had that even before COVID, even after COVID and before the administration change, they were trying to make these changes, and they were having hearings about these changes, and they were grilling all these PBMs about this and how egregious it is. So I'm hoping that we've gotten something out of it, right? That's decent. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows?
Well,
It's a shit show, and everybody hates it, even the politicians.
Right.
So,
Yeah. What's interesting is like healthcare over any other industry, because I'm like relatively new to working in healthcare. It's like, if you imagine like playing board games with like a fucking asshole who's going to rules lawyer you and be like, well, you didn't say I couldn't, like, that's healthcare. Right. So if you don't specifically regulate something, they're going to fucking do it.
Absolutely.
And then they're all like lobbying. Yeah. So when people talk about healthcare structurally, they talk about a triangle. It's payers or insurance or employers, right? The insurance, it's hospitals, which doctors are like a subset of that. And then it's pharma. Those are the three big things that are like, they're playing with each other. Like that's it. But sometimes people say there's a fourth pillar, and that is policy, meaning law, right? Lobbying, pharma is one of the industries that spends the most on lobbying legislatures, because you have this the obnoxious rules lawyer board game player who's like, well, you didn't tell me I couldn't do this. That's the fucking healthcare industry. And then they influence and control the laws. So there's like, I'll give you an example of a company, Epic or MyChart. You might have a doctor who uses them. A lot of hospital systems use them. This is a company that came in. It's like software that gives you, your EHR, electronic health records, and like, doctor stuff. And it's like a login portal for patients, but it's also like how doctors are using it on their end. That's a company that came through, got a good amount of market share, and then they implemented a bunch of regulation that made it harder for anyone to follow. And they are like, I feel like we have some of the strongest monopolies in healthcare over other industries because of that, because they use regulation so effectively to prevent competition.
Yeah. And they also, I think too, in healthcare, well, in pharma, they do the same thing. So like when they're doing this patent stuff, right, they are doing that to try to avoid anything going generic for as long as possible. Like that's why it's so intricate, and the way they're able to do it is just, and a lot of that again is because they can exploit it's part of me is like, I get it, bro. Like you go and you see, and there's these holes, and you're like, take advantage of the system and do this and make a lot more money. I get it. So my whole thing is we need to fix the fucking system. Like that's the whole idea, right? I also don't like fault them, if that makes sense. Like I get a company trying to make as much money as possible, especially when they spend millions, if not billions of dollars on research and studying. I do. But my issue again is that still the price is egregious, and these are life-changing, life-saving treatments, and like I think like if we just look at like a big picture, right? Obesity has the potential to take us out, right? And like the way it's going and what we have, and sure, the food and all this different stuff like play a role, but ultimately the way it's happening is it could take us out. So when we don't have the most, like the citizens that are, in the best shape mentally or physically, because this obesity we talk about all the time is this chronic inflammatory condition. And it's just literally affecting all of your organs and your brain. So at this point, like if I just talk to like the stupid of it, like if they don't cover it on Medicare and Medicaid, right? If they don't find a way to do that, then we are going to get to a point where this is going to take us out. Like that's why Medicare and Medicaid, like they pay for dialysis and they pay for your heart stuff and all these different things, but they are paying for obesity. We're paying for it on the back half, not the front half. So the whole idea is to pay for it on the front half. So the whole idea of like finding a way to make us healthier, this is one of the biggest ways, because this disease is supposed to take us out. Like it really is. I mean, even if you're thinking about what it does to the brain, right? Like I know we don't have really good results on the Alzheimer's yet, but ultimately they call Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes. Like that's where they're headed with this science and with these issues. So it's like, I'm even seeing, I heard like Senator Cassidy was talking about, I think his parent or something had Alzheimer's, and like the care that's involved in that, and the money that's spent in that. And if we could prevent that, and fix that, and these people, like, I can't stand when like, we're always talking about like return, like, you know what I mean? Like when it comes to these kinds of things, like with the government programs, because ultimately it's like, people get a remission from their stuff, right, within months, on these medicines. Like it's not years. Let's look back 5 years from now. Nah. Like we got to get in there now. This is how important this is. And this is, I know that like there's a lot of people that are in this industry that it's a money grab and they're, especially with compound and stuff and they're finding a way to get theirs. But honestly, like, why are they doing that? Right? Why are doctors being like, yeah, let me sell compound medication and they do make something off the top, right? But, well, they can't do that with any other medication. Like that's not allowed. And like FDA approved medications, you can't make money off of it. And they can't do it with that. Why do they need to make more money? Because doctors go to school forever. And then insurance companies gouge them. That's the answer. Like, and so they're paying student loans, right? And they're paying to have their practice if they have their own practice, and they're getting gouged. And they're PCPs. They can only spend 5 minutes with us. So the whole system is trash. And that's why this other system that we're talking about, Sabina and I are talking about, are getting built around it because everybody's fed up and they can't change the system. So while I think that we are in a better place, right? When it comes to, I think, evolving the system, part of me is like, or do we just need to break it? You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, I'm not sure what the answer is, but I feel like the breaking will probably happen before the system changes,
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Can I do a mini rant on like some pharma?
Hell yes.
Okay. So by and large, pharma companies make 70% of their revenue in the United States because they are charging us so much more money and we are like monetized, right? Yeah. And what's funny is that the US pays for a lot of, through grants, the US pays for a lot of the new drug discovery. So sometimes, I don't know if I've talked to you about this on the show, but sometimes it's like a big pharma company is like, let's make a new drug. Let's run some experiments. But that's actually less common. What actually happens is you'll have a group of scientists, maybe out of university or like just like well-educated people who have a concept for a drug. They will get funding. And often a large portion of that funding is from NIH grants. And then, which means it's like free money if they apply, right? Mm-hmm. And then they will take that concept of a medication and get it often through phase 1 trials, sometimes through phase 2, and then they get acquired by pharma companies.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like oftentimes the US is paying for a lot of the actual innovation money. And granted, the most expensive part is the phase 3 trial.
Sure.
But pharma companies also, do you want to hear this?
Yes.
They don't pay fucking taxes in the United States.
No shit.
They claim a loss in the United States. And actually, one of the few pharma companies that pay taxes in the United States is Eli Lilly. They paid I think it was like $1 billion and change. And then when Trump did his most favored nations negotiations with them, he just gave them a tax rebate. He gave them $1 billion fucking dollars.
Oh my God. And that was because, no, I don't know if this is right. And that was if they agreed to have manufacturing here? Was that like the trade-off?
It's complicated. So we don't know all the details in the most favored nations negotiation. A lot of it was like make drugs cheaper, have manufacturing being built here, and agree to have all future drugs, which retatrutide is like not included in that list.
Interesting.
All future drugs at most favored nation pricing. However, Trump gave them a 3-year grace period, which just means it's going to be the next president's problem.
Yeah. Jeez. Why do you think that is? I mean, I'm the next president, sure. But do you think that's because we like to speculate on the show? Do you think that the whole idea is that maybe they needed time to build a manufacturing plants here and get people to work there or something? I think
Trump likes the idea of bringing, first of all, it is good for us to have U.S. manufacturing here. Sure. Trump likes that idea as something that he can point to as an accomplishment that he has. Yeah. And I think, we do need more drug manufacturing here. So it's if you have manufacturing, you get it's part of the negotiations. He wanted all the pharma companies to make manufacturing facilities here. And a lot of them are, because to be honest, they have a bunch of money. And it allows them to have more favorable negotiations.
Yeah. When do you think we're going to know more about Medicare? Because I thought it was supposed to be April, which is
No, it's going to be summer. We're going to know more about which states are actually enrolling or not enrolling and the Medicare Medicaid stuff.
Wow.
But I think like actually like patients having the medication in their hands at a discounted price, maybe end of year.
Yeah.
Maybe next year.
Jeez.
It's like all slow.
Yeah. Like I've never seen the system do things fast. I think it's interesting about what those things that you mentioned about the FDA and what they're going after. And it seems like those are pretty small tweaks that can be made.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are like,
I feel like they could have gone bigger.
Yeah, it could get worse, right?
Yeah.
If will crack down on compounding, we don't know.
Yeah.
What's interesting is they sent Novo Nordisk also 2 letters about their marketing.
Oh.
So talk through like in the last month, this first letter. So it didn't like Wegovy pill advertising. So it did not like that it said only GLP-1 weight loss pill.
Yeah.
And they didn't like that. They also didn't like some of the text they had on screen, which is like live lighter by losing weight, because they thought live lighter was like implying mental health benefits, which were like, that hasn't been FDA approved for mental health benefits. They also, didn't like things like,
I actually kind of like, as a marketer, I think live lighter is great. Huzzah, Novo.
Yeah. I mean, they felt like it was implying efficacy that they didn't need. And also it was implying that the oral Wegovy pill was superior to other GLP-1 treatments. Right?
Yeah.
And it's not the only GLP-1 pill either. And they were presented as like first. No, Rybelsus.
Well, but it's theirs.
Yeah, but
it's the only one for weight loss.
Like the first GLP-1 pill is kind of misleading, right?
Yeah.
And they
say the first GLP-1 pill for weight loss. They could say that.
FDA approved for weight loss, but it's also like they don't want it to imply that it's like the best one for weight loss, because it isn't the best GLP-1 medication. It's not the most effective GLP-1 medication. And then the other day, this is like in the last 2 or 3 days, they got another warning letter for their marketing for Ozempic. Yeah. And they didn't like, I'm skimming it to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. They didn't like that they said Ozempic is the GLP-1 with the most FDA approved uses. And then they like nod and look at other GLP-1s. They didn't like,
wonder why,
lowering cardiovascular events, lower the risk. Yeah, which is weird because Ozempic does. But
yeah.
Okay, so GLP-1 does, but Wegovy is the version, the brand that's approved.
Oh, that's what it is.
So that could be why, right? Because there's a history of pharma companies releasing new brands for different indications and then raising the price of each one. They did that with Wegovy, zepbound. They were a lower price for Ozempic, and then the Wegovy was like $1,500, right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And they also talk about lowering the risk of worsening chronic kidney disease. Again, that's Wegovy that's FDA approved for chronic kidney disease. And then they also don't like the claim or the slogan, there's only one Ozempic. Great.
Interesting, because there is only one Ozempic. I don't think that's a problem. I'm wondering why, though.
Yeah. I think it's because there is Wegovy.
Yeah.
That's also FDA approved. So I don't know. Is it like because there's 2 brands with the same active ingredient?
I don't know. If you think about it, like when they go to market, like, so for example, let's just use Vyvanse for an example. So Vyvanse comes to market, they're approved for ADHD. At some point they get another approval for binge eating disorder. But when they get the approval for, and I think it's wonderful actually. But I think that when they got the approval, that they didn't come out with, Schmyvance, right? Where you get Vyvanse for ADHD and Schmyvance for, for BED, right? They kept it the same. I would love to know, we need to get someone in pharma, when they're making those choices, why are they doing it? Like, is it just because it seems like they may have done it to make more money. And I think that sort of bit them in the ass, and it's just made things a lot more complicated. Case in point, said ad, right? Again, this is speculation, I would love to know, because I feel like I just feel like it's screwed them over. And I but I don't know. At the same time, these people have billions of dollars. Like clearly, clearly they're doing all right. Trillions, I think, even now, or a trillion. I don't know. I heard that Eli Lilly was like $1 trillion company. I think that's true.
Yeah. Eli Lilly is doing great, but just broadly, Novo Nordisk stock is down to 2021 levels. They are not doing good. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, and by and large, like oversimplification, most people prefer zepbound or tirzepatide to semaglutide. Everybody's different. Talk to your doctor, right?
Yeah,
but
most different. But yeah, I mean, most
people get better weight loss, fewer side effects on those medications. And it's playing out in the name brand area where zepbound is superior. Eli Lilly's new drugs in the pipeline seem to also be superior. And that's why Novo Nordisk stock is down so much.
Yeah.
But they're starting to market as like only one Ozempic, only more FDA approved indications. And FDA doesn't like that because it's like implying that they have a superior product, which is not necessarily accurate.
Yeah.
But Novo Nordisk is doing that because they're trying to like show that they have a superior product because, Wegovy, semaglutide has been FDA approved for more things than tirzepatide.
Yeah.
And that's simply
around longer. Like that's,
Yeah. And so like eventually I think most of the things that semaglutide is FDA approved for, tirzepatide will be FDA approved for, and vice versa. It's just what are they prioritizing and how fast are they getting through the phase 3 trials and that whole process. But, the FDA doesn't like the way Novo Nordisk has been doing its marketing because it's misleading. It's misleading to imply that Ozempic is the best GLP-1.
Yeah.
And they feel like the way that they're presenting things, it's doing that. Like they even call out in an Ozempic commercial, an Ozempic character has a bright orange t-shirt. And then there's a contrast to an other GLP-1's character in a dull gray shirt.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's brilliant marketing, but I get it. I mean, some of those are like facts. Like, I think that's like one of the things that I do when people are very anxious about getting on the meds and they're like, which one should I go on? I'm like, look, like if you look at like side effects, right. And weight loss percentages, like it seems like tirzepatide makes sense. But ultimately I did lose most of my weight on semaglutide. You know what I mean? Or semaglutide. Right. So it's like, I don't know. Like, I mean, everybody's different. Like, I think that, and the medicine has been studied longer and extensively, right? Semaglutide or semaglutide. So, I mean, that's just something to like, I think for everybody to think about, especially if they're nervous. Like, I really want something that's had more time in market, more studies done. That would be the one, But I think that Lilly has done a lot in a short amount of time, and getting the proof for sleep apnea was fucking brilliant.
Yes.
Like, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because like I always tell people if they don't know where to get started, like, and they're going the compounded route, semaglutide is cheaper and it works well enough for a lot of people. Like, your body. Are you like, I'm definitely going to have side effects? Then in which case it's worth paying more for tirzepatide. But honestly, semaglutide works great for so many people. It didn't work great for me. Yeah. Like I had horrible side effects and couldn't tolerate it. Yeah. But for so many people, for some people, it's better for them than tirzepatide. So it's like, why not start with a more affordable option? See how it works.
That's why I was interested, honestly, in the in CagriSema, because I would try that. Because that's it. When I will, I would 100% try that, because I do think that my mental health was really good on Ozempic, but because there is something. It's not that my mental health is necessarily bad on tirzepatide. It's just the flat thing, and so I can't help but wonder. I don't know if it's all GLP-1s all the time or if it's that GIP. You know what I mean? Yeah. And if it just like blows out my GLP, that's what Dave and I talked about one day. Like, is it just blowing out my GIP receptors like crazy, being on these high doses for so long? I don't know. I don't think any of us know. But that's where, again, like coming back to like original conversation, right? Where being able to do these custom doses or custom schedules or custom formulations is really important. We do need it. It doesn't need to go away, in my opinion. Now, that being said, I'm pissed by the prices of compound. I think they need to go way down because the price of brand has come down a lot, and I don't think it's competitive enough. So sometimes when people ask me, should I go compound or brand? I'll say, if you can afford an extra $100, go brand, but if someone's like, the compound is $200, if like tirzepatide is $200, as opposed to the highest dose being $500, and I'll be like, yeah, like an FDA regulated pharmacy would make a lot of sense for affordability if that's the way you want to go, right? And safety and efficacy and all those things. So I just think like it's just freaking, can you guys believe this? Like those of you who don't follow the news on this, other than maybe just a couple headlines every now and then, can you believe all this stuff that's going on? Like all of this sneaky, like state legislation is blowing my mind. I feel like there's a new bullshit coming out constantly. And I hate it because it feels so controlled by big pharma. And like, I think that I don't want to get sued, but a lot of these politicians are in the pocket. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that it's a lot of these, big pharma companies do help these people get elected, and I think that it's like quid pro quo, right? It's like, and I think that I see that a lot, and it makes me angry because that's certainly not representative of, I think, the majority of the people, and I hate to think that happens here, but everybody knows I've been disillusioned with politics considerably.
Yeah. It's interesting because I looked up some of the funding for some of the politicians, and some of them, like, especially with state representatives, some of them, they didn't have large campaign budgets, like $14,000 for their entire campaign. But like 1 or 2K of that was, pharma companies.
Yeah.
And it's like, to me, if a politician is only getting, like, maybe there's more hidden money I don't know about, but if a politician is only getting paid $2K and that's enough for them to sell out our access to medication, come on, that's like 2 months of pay.
Come on, guys. You can make that 2K. We got you.
You should get a new kitchen, politicians. Like, come on, you should get a new kitchen if you're doing that. They can afford it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's a good point. Yeah. I know. I think that
not even a year worth of medication.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not even a year.
Yeah. It's not, that's so true. Yeah. I'm wondering too, like, I don't know if you've seen, before we go, we can wrap it up. But have you seen so when we were at Obesity Week in the Zepbound, or they had like this really cool, I liked it a lot, like experience, like the Zepbound experience, where you could go in and like listen to people's stories, and their what it was like before, and they had like all these garments, and the garments were kind of animated. It was very cool. But it was very emotional because you could find someone, that you related to, or someone that you loved that you could think they related to. And it was great. But I can't help but wonder, like, do those people get their meds for free? Because you do when you're with compound companies. Like, I don't know. Probably not. There's probably like a lot of regulation with that,
I have no idea, honestly.
Okay.
I think
but they have influencers. Like they have
influencers they pay. They have charities they sponsor.
Yeah. So maybe inadvertently.
Like, there's different types of charities. There are charities that they sponsor where they're a type of charity where they can spend 49% of their budget on lobbying.
Wow.
49% of their budget on lobbying. And then their primary sponsors are pharma.
Wow. Jeez. They're in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I don't think big pharma is the enemy. I really don't. Like, I think there's a lot of things that we have and lives have been changed because of the efforts, like, but I just think that when it comes to this specifically, guys, and I know they watch the show. It's egregious. Fix your shit, please. Because we've got done. Okay.
I mean, some people look at compound and like some people think compound is wrong because they feel like it's violating the patent. And I'm not commenting on that or not, but like, what drug patents create a monopoly for pharma companies. Drug patents do not serve patients.
Yes. They are meant to help them honestly keep from going generic for as long as possible. Like when we had IMAC on the show, we talked a lot about that, about the patent system and the loopholes and how they exploit it. Yeah. So I think like there's a lot of stuff that needs to change. And for sure, like we talked at the top, right? That Sabina is like, this could change the entire healthcare system because of the way this is. Yeah. And I think also set precedent for how things are done in the future, good and bad. So you got to stay on top of it. Make sure your voice is heard. We'll put all the links in the show notes. You got anything for closeout?
No, I mean, follow me on social media, LAWIEPOP. And then, if you are in the market or trying to figure out where to get your medication, name brand or compound, go to glpwinner.com.
See, name brand or compound. It's important. And like, if someone's charging you a lot of money for name brand, you need to know that ain't right. Like there may be a fee, like a telehealth fee or something, but they're not supposed to be making money on the meds. So make sure that you know that, okay? The brand name. So make sure you check that out, though. I think it's really good because I think a lot of people, too, that have been on the meds for a while, sometimes they want the services, right? The extra pieces and be able to tap in or be able to do it for maintenance. And then some people don't and are willing to pay less. And so I think that's all really, really important. But it is important that you get the best care possible for you. And people change all the time. They change telehealth all the time because a lot of times telehealths up their prices. Right. You'll get started and they'll go up and they'll be like, so you may be shopping, right? Or in the market. And it's good to make sure, even just a gut check, guys, go. So just go to GLP Winner / plus sides. And then you can just look and see what's out there and then kind of gut check it with where you're at now. Okay. And it'll help you. And it's free. It's great.
Yeah.
All right.
Free. Yeah.
Yeah. Huzzah. Okay. Good show. Lots of tea. Tell us what you think in the comments. Please follow Sabina. And we will put the links to the different pieces of legislation that they're trying to pass, like the bills. And just so you can dig into it deeper and ask questions and hopefully get involved locally. Okay. All right. Well, that's a wrap. We'll see you next week. Hasta la pasta.
Let me tell you a quick story. I was telling Kat how I was regaining weight after my 100-pound loss using GLP-1 medications, and I was having snacky cravings and waking up at 3 a.m., and I had hot flashes, and I was worried. But Kat was like, listen, I went through this last year. It's perimenopause, and I started HRT, and she used this company called Winona. So I started going there to see if this was something that was going with me. Turns out it was, because I'm 46. And it's been amazing. It's taken a while to find the right dose, but once I did, it's just been huge. I've been sleeping. I feel more myself again. And the hot flashes are gone, which is, geez, really bad. So I will tell you, it's just been so big for me. And so I wanted to partner with them on the podcast because obviously many of our listeners are going through this same age range and definitely are having these issues. And there's just no need for you to suffer. So if you go to the link that's in our link tree, you can click on that and save money. If you go there and you meet all the criteria, and this might be something for you to try. So I just want to make sure you had this great resource because it's just been such a big difference for me and Kat. Again, you can go to the link in our link tree and get what you need. Today's episode is brought to you by Ro, a telehealth platform that's changing the game of GLP-1 access. What sets Ro apart? Ro understands the challenges of navigating insurance hurdles and the skyrocketing prices of GLP-1 medications. That's why they specialize in getting insurance approvals for GLP-1s. And if insurance is a barrier, they go a step further by prescribing brand name zepbound vials for prices close to those of compound GLP-1s. With Ro, you're not just getting a prescription, you're getting a partner in your journey that's helping you access affordable treatment and guiding you every step of the way. Whether it's insurance approvals or cost-effective alternatives, Ro is here to make sure that you get the medication you need. Visit ro.co/plus-sides with a Z today to see how they can help you take control of your weight management journey with affordable, accessible care. That's ro.co/plus-sides with a Z, making healthcare work for you. Check out the link in our show notes for more details. Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on the Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus Sides podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to the Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus Sides Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault.